This is a Willets Point Shea Stadium bound 7 express train. The next and last stop is Willets Point, Shea Stadium.
Let's start that again because my mic was muted. Yes, it is the Subway to Shea podcast. Anthony Rivera here with you talking about all the news and happenings surrounding that team from Queens, the New York Mets. It's episode 198 from the Subway to Shea studios in my office. Make sure you are following on all the socials, X, Instagram, TikTok, at Subway to Shea. You can follow me on X at Ant Rivera 86 and subscribe to Subway to Shea on YouTube. If you're in here right now, you're probably doing that. Make sure you like the video. Make sure you share the video with all your fellow Met fans and baseball fans out there. And if you want to listen to the show, you can do that on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, which you can catch this episode up there a little bit later on today. But if you want to be a part of the chat, if you want to chime in with questions and make this a lively show, make sure you're subscribed on YouTube. And I'm pretty sure you can check it out on X as well, as it's live streamed through X. Shout out to, we're off and running here, 21 and counting in the room. Shout out to all of you people that are here and a part of the show. It's a special Subway series, a Bronx edition of the Subway to Shea podcast, as the Mets and the Yankees are going at it for bragging rights, I guess. So, or as Yankee fans like to tell us, this is our World Series. So that's going on. And we got to start off the show with Juan Soto's return to the Bronx. Of course, where else would we begin, as this rivalry has taken on a whole new meaning because of the signing of Juan Soto. We saw the fan response in game one, turning their backs on Juan Soto, booing Juan Soto, the expletives and the fingers that were being thrown at Juan Soto while he was in the outfield. And, Soto responded, tipping the cap to the fans, not really paying much mind to it. So I kind of hope that this is pretty much over with now. I assume it won't be. It'll go on and for as long as Juan Soto is a New York Met, but I hope the coverage is just coming to an end, because I after the first game, you got it out of your system, you let it go from there, and you hope that we just move on from this. But it does add another element to the Subway series, and I really enjoy that whole situation. Now, I'm hearing from Jeff Cohen that the chat is disabled on YouTube. I gonna have to check that out and see what the problem is. I don't know if I could do that midstream, but if you want to go on X and throw in chats there, I think I can post them up on here. So I don't know what's happening to the chat right now, but I appreciate you all being in here and being part of the show. Throw some comments and questions out through X. We'll see how we can get this working here. But the New York Mets and the New York Yankees rivalry has kind of taken on new meaning here because of Juan Soto switching boroughs and coming to Queens, leaving the Bronx and coming to Queens. Now, if this were anywhere else besides Queens, if this was anywhere else besides coming to the New York Mets and probably going to the Boston Red Sox, I don't know if Juan Soto's getting this reaction from New York Yankees fans. I just don't. I don't know if the reaction would be the same. But because he comes to Queens, because he doesn't take the Yankees' almighty dollar and he comes for a little bit more to the New York Mets, then everything changes. Yankees fans felt jilted, and probably so. I would feel the same way. And as Jeff Cohen stating, what's your take on the behavior of the fans this weekend? I mean, they have every right to boo. I don't tell anyone what they should be doing, if they should boo a player or they shouldn't. That it's not my style. I don't do that, but I'm not going to tell. I don't tell Met fans how they should cheer or boo, and I'm certainly not going to tell that to Yankee fans. Shout out to Ron Rivera in the chat. Appreciate you for being a part of it. As was mentioned a few minutes ago, there's some issue with the YouTube chat that I'm going to have to figure out once this show is over. So if you want to be a part of the chat, please hop on X. And I'm seeing the chat. I've seen chat from Jeff Cohen. I'm seeing chat for Duran Rivera. If you want to hop on the chat, please do so here. And I'm pretty sure I can get to you. It's just not working on YouTube at this moment in time. And I apologize for that. I don't know what the issue is at the moment. I don't know if it's a technical issue on their end. I don't know if it's a settings issue that I may have missed when I was setting up the show. But as we go back with this Juan Soto situation, I think it was handled as best as it could be. The fans were going to boo. They did. The fans were going to turn their backs on Soto. They did. That's all out of the way. Obviously, he's going to be booed till eternity until he's not a Met anymore. But the Yankee fans can boo all they want. Juan Soto, I don't think he really cares. I just don't think he does. He gave them the tip of the cap. He smiled. And we're off and running with the games here. Now, he walked 3 times in that opener. Then he grounded out and popped out with runners in scoring position in the 9th inning. And look, we haven't really seen the best of Juan Soto. I don't know what it is. He's just going through the motions. We went through this with Francisco Lindor when he first got here. We went through this with Carlos Beltran when he first got here, even Mike Piazza. There is that transition phase. Although Juan Soto is a little bit different because he played in the Bronx. But maybe there is that pressure of the contract for Juan Soto. And we knew off the bat that Juan Soto wasn't the, just a power hitter, right? I mean, he had his best season last season with the Yankees, hitting, 41 home runs? Over 100 RBIs? And a lot of walks. And that's his game. He'll get you the big hit. He's going to get some RBIs, score some runs. But Juan Soto's big thing is walks. We know he's not a great outfielder. It's something that he says he's working on. But we haven't seen the best of Juan Soto yet. And for some reason, the Mets are still in first place. Now, we don't know how long that's going to last, right? We've seen it before. Mets 2022 led the whole year in first place, then lost in the last game of the season. Anything's possible. The Braves have turned around their season, waiting for Ronald Acuna Jr. to come back. I saw him hit a home run in the minors in his rehab. The Phillies are there. That NL West has a lot of strong teams. So the Mets with Juan Soto not really providing the big spark, like we've seen from Pete Alonso this season, from what we've seen from Francisco Lindor, what we've seen from the rotation for the first month of the season, have helped carry this team to a first place record, first in the National League East, and one of the best records in baseball, along with the Dodgers and the Padres. Still a long season ahead. If they can get him going, there is no way I can't see this Mets team winning a division. And everyone talked about if Juan Soto's leaving, he doesn't have good backup enough, as we were seeing with Aaron Judge, who was, they were 1-2 on that offense in the Yankees offense. And Aaron Judge hasn't missed a beat. He's off to an historic start. Batting .402, 15 home runs, 41 RBIs, has a 1.241 OPS. He had 2 hits in game 1, but went 0 for 5 in game 2 with 3 strikeouts, including that game-ending strikeout from Edwin Diaz. He's an all-time great. We know this. We know that Aaron Judge is an absolute all-time great, a Hall of Famer. Only thing missing is that World Series ring. As Judge in the postseason, 205, 16 home runs, 34 RBIs, and a 768 OPS. And I'm pretty sure Yankee fans will judge Aaron Judge on what he does in the postseason at the end of the day. For as good as he has been this year, for as good as he has been throughout his career, Aaron Judge will be judged by what he does in the postseason. Now, Brady Farkas, a fastball on SI, had some of these good stats here. As we know, he's trying to become the first person since 1941, since Ted Williams, to hit over 400. Ted Williams hit 406. Now, the highest batting average with 15-plus home runs in the team's first 44 games, 1956, Mickey Mantle batted 421. Second is Aaron Judge this year, 414. 2001, Manny Ramirez was also batting 414. Then you really go. Jimmy Fox, 1932, 410. Cody Bellinger, 409. 1930, Chuck Klein, 405. So we will see how Aaron Judge is judged by his career, but he's not missing a beat without Juan Soto. Those two fed off of each other all season last year. Judge had a tough postseason, whereas Soto did very well. Giancarlo Stanton pretty much carried the team in that postseason. And you look at life without Soto for the Yankees. Those replacements, Cody Bellinger, Paul Goldschmidt, each having a couple good games against the Mets. The replacements for Juan Soto, are they going to play as well throughout the whole season? We know Paul Goldschmidt is up there in age, but he's having a little bit of a renaissance himself and doing well. Cody Bellinger, former MVP. Dad also used to play for the Yankees. Clay Bellinger, I remember that when I was a kid. They've done well in replacing Juan Soto. You look at DJ LeMay, who's trying to have a renaissance here. Had a good game in game 2. These guys are important to the Yankees lineup. They've been very, very good this season. Youth is not on their side when it comes to these players. But considering how weak the AL is, especially the AL East, the Yankees have a really good chance to make it back to the World Series. Let's be honest. Who is going to be able to top the Yankees in the American League at this point in time? Detroit could be a contender. Who else? Who else is going to challenge the Yankees? And as Duran Rivera is saying, the Yankees lineup is more balanced and deeper. And Stanton and Jazz Chisholm aren't even in the lineup. Jazz Chisholm not out to the hottest start, but he's on the IL. You got a lot of contributions from the kids, which we'll get into in a little bit. Jeff Cohen saying Judge won't hit 400 for the season, but he has a great chance for MVP again. And that's Judge is just out of this world, one of the best players in all of baseball, probably the best player right now for sure. I know the Dodgers fans and Shohei Ohtani have a lot to say about that. But Aaron Judge is not only one of the best players in the league right now, but will be one of the best players of all time when all is said and done. Going back to the Mets division talk, Carlos saying that that's the thing, Ant. The Mets are not going to win the NL East playing this way. Winning the NL East might be the only way of making the postseason. And he's, I can't disagree that he might not be wrong here. Because as Jeff Cohen said, the NL's strong. Don't even count out the Diamondbacks. That NL West is strong. You look at those, 4 teams right now? Dodgers, Giants. There's just the Dodgers, Giants, and Diamondbacks right now are the top 3 teams probably in the NL West. Strong teams. Padres. How can I forget the Padres? I'm sorry. Yeah, top 4 teams. Padres are one of the best teams in baseball as well. Mets got a lot of work cut out for them. If they want to make the postseason this year, a lot of work. Shout out to all of you that are in this room right now. About 79 in the room, whether you're on YouTube or whether you're on X. Duran Rivera, thank you for posting his 35 more subs away from 1,000. Hit that like, hit that subscribe. Make sure you're a part of the Subway to Shea podcast. Jung Hoo Lee saying, Ant blocked YouTube chat. I did not. I don't know what happened. I honestly don't know what happened. I'm going to have to fix this once I get off the air here. I can't do it midstream because I don't know if it'll mess up the stream itself, but I will have that fixed for you by next week. So I apologize if there is any issues right now with the chat. So the Yankees with life without Soto, they've been doing just fine. And besides how the Yankees were going to handle this, because they signed Goldschmidt, they signed Bellinger, they signed Max Fried, they traded for Devin Williams. I don't know if they're able to do all that work if they bring back Juan Soto, because he was going to sign for $700 million at the very least with the Yankees if the Mets didn't offer this deal that they did. So kind of is a blessing in disguise for them to play in the league that they do, to be able to make the moves that they made, and to still be in first place. Now the talk on the other side, on that subway to, well, now it's Citi Field, was who was going to be able to back up Juan Soto once they made that signing in December. And late into January, February, the Mets brought back Pete Alonso. And he's had a huge season for the New York Mets. He's basically led the offense alongside Francisco Lindor. You compare him to last season in 2023 when he struggled with runners in scoring position, struggled with laying off that outside slider. This year, he's been totally different. I know he's got kind of a little bit in little tiny mini slump at this moment in time, but I think he'll get out of that funk. I think Pete Alonso has definitely been one of the reasons that this team sits in first place right now. Without his offense, the Mets might not be in first place. They just might not. Pete has just been so good in the clutch. It's like 2022 Pete all over again. Batting over 300. Has the home runs, has the RBIs. Talk about success against the Yankees. The most RBIs against the Yankees in Mets history. David Wright, obviously, at top 35. Reyes has 28. Piazza, 25. We know Piazza. A lot of those RBIs got to be against Roger Clemens for sure. And Pete Alonso, also 25 RBIs. Pete Alonso's been huge for this team. And the hope is that he can continue this run throughout the season and into the postseason, if the Mets are so lucky enough to get there. I don't know what happens when the season's over. I would assume that Pete Alonso would opt out after having a season like this and go into free agency again. And then we're back at the top at the talks of, do you re-sign Pete Alonso and make him a Met forever? Do you let him go to free agency? I assume that he will be more sought after now this offseason, especially with Vladimir Guerrero Jr. off the board. A lot of other first basemen already have been moved around. I don't know how much money he's going to be making, but I'm sure it's a more lucrative and better contract than he had. Carlos in the chat saying a lot of those RBIs had to be against Clemens and chose violence today. I told you, Carlos, I was being petty yesterday on X with a lot of the Yankee fans out there. Well, against Nick Turturro, who's always got something to say. But you know what? Nick Turturro had nothing to say. I did not see a video of Nick Turturro out there, big Nick Turturro, actor extraordinaire. I did not see him have anything to say after yesterday's game. He was very quiet. Keith McPherson as well. I was having a little bit of fun. Jung Hoo Lee saying the Mets will trade for Rafael Devers to replace Alonso's production in 2026. It's a possibility, but do you really want Rafael Devers after all that stuff that's been going on in Boston with him? I don't know if I want him. I don't know if I want that in the clubhouse. He didn't even take moving out of position lightly. I don't know if I'm a huge fan of bringing Rafael Devers here to replace a Pete Alonso, but I will support whatever move that the Mets make. So it's always about the name on the front more than the name on the back. But Pete Alonso himself having a stellar season, all capping from what happened in the postseason last year against this next guy that we're going to talk about, this Yankee. After hitting that 3-run shot, that game-winning shot in Milwaukee off for Devin Williams, what has happened to Devin Williams? Is it all because of what Pete Alonso did in the postseason? Did Pete Alonso break Devin Williams here? We saw Devin Williams strike out the side in game 1. He struck out Pete Alonso, that's for sure. But this season has not been good for Devin Williams. 1-2, 7.80 ERA, 13 earned runs in 15 innings pitched. He has struggled this season so much that he was moved from the closer's role. And Luke Weaver has been the closer. Now, I don't know if this is something that lasts for the entire season. Can Devin Williams regain form? But ever since that home run from Pete Alonso that sent the Mets to the NLDS, he has not been the same. And I don't know if you guys agree with this, but this kind of reminds me of 2019 Edwin Diaz coming to a new team, getting out of a smaller market where I don't really know if, I don't know if you consider Seattle a smaller market. It's definitely a bigger market than Milwaukee. But leaving those cities and coming to the bright lights of New York did not transition very well for either closer. Edwin Diaz basically cost the Mets in 2019 a postseason berth. I mean, if he would have saved maybe about 5 more games instead of blowing them, that team would have went to the postseason. But that's in the past. But this Devin Williams run kind of reminds me of Edwin Diaz. Now, he's going to be a free agent at the end of this season, so it would behoove him to start pitching better. I can't see a guy who's closed for this Milwaukee Brewers team and did it so well throughout the entire season, one of the best closers in baseball, have such a downturn the way that he has. It has been a crazy turn of events for Edwin Diaz. Not for Edwin Diaz. It's been a crazy turn of events for Devin Williams. Now, on the other side of things, when you look at what Edwin Diaz has done, kind of getting back into rare form here, 10 out of 10 for save opportunities. He looked his best on Saturday, striking out 2. Struck out Austin Wells. Then he got Ben Rice to pop out to third. And then strike out swinging Aaron Judge to end the game. Most important thing here, getting to over 98 to 100 miles per hour on his pitches. Big deal for Edwin Diaz. Big deal for this team who has suffered through some crucial losses to the bullpen. AJ Minter, Danny Young, Daniel Nunez getting sent back down. It has been quite the struggle for the Mets when it comes to these injuries to the bullpen. Haven't seen the best of Ryan Stanek, although he's turning it around. Jose Buto, one of my favorite guys out there, he can't even get himself started, or he can't come into games where there's runners on base. Remember how dominant both Jose Buto and Daniel Nunez were last season? Haven't seen that this year from those guys. Max Kranick kind of coming a little bit down to earth. And the best reliever was a guy that I said last season when they traded for him, this was going to be the steal of the trade deadline, which was Huascar Brazaban. And he's been fantastic this season. I hope it lasts all season for Huascar. Could possibly, he pitches multiple innings and could possibly now be a setup man for the Mets if needed. Carlos in the chat saying the secret to Sugar Diaz is the slider. The 2022 slider is back for Sugar. With that slider in form, he can get away with the 96, 97 mile per hour fastball. But as we saw today, he's hitting 98, 99, 100. Maybe he's back. Maybe Edwin Diaz is back. I almost forgot about Reed Garrett, so I appreciate Duran Rivera for bringing it up. He's been wild. There's the same thing that happened to Reed Garrett last season. Right? Reed got off to a hot start. He was very good. And then they overused him. The walks came. He had to go on the IL. Came back. He wasn't really the same pitcher. He pitched a little bit better. Pitched good in the postseason, kind of. But wasn't as good as a dominant April Reed Garrett. Now, he got out of a big jam that he put himself into, which was huge, not only for the Mets, but for himself. We need Reed Garrett. We need him to be on his game. Carlos saying Huascar Brazaban deserves his flowers. The guy has been great, like Hector says. Brazo, bend, but don't break. He's been good. He's been really good. Now, as we switch to the rotations for both teams, Max Fried has been pretty dominant. Having a Cy Young type career, leads the major leagues in wins and ERA. He's been pretty good for the New York Yankees. And you always got to wonder to yourself, the Mets and the Yankees have gone in different directions. They're on the different sides of the spectrum when it comes to building a rotation. And both ways have been somewhat working here. Yankees always go for the free agent pitchers, right? Carlos Rodon, Garrett Cole, Max Fried. And for the most part, have been successful. Now, I got my guy coming on here on the show from the Yanks Morning Brew, Hector Beauchamp, in the house. What's going on, brother?
And I apologize, bro. I am so sorry, my guy. I was up like 3-4 o'clock in the morning editing. I didn't set up my setup. This is the fastest I ever set up. So I'm so sorry, and I'm glad to be here, bro.
You are a speed demon.
Speed demon. This is what I got for your chat. Oh my God! Sorry about that.
We've been talking about, the rotations for both teams and the directions that they've been going in. Both teams have kind of handled putting together their rotations differently, right? More free agency for the New York Yankees, which has worked to their advantage, right? Garrett Cole has been one of the best pitchers in baseball. We've seen what Max Fried can do, as well as Carlos Rodon when he's on his game.
Mm-hmm.
If you compare that to what the Mets do, and they're not going after the big name free agents, at least if they're over 30, they're not going after them.
Mm-hmm.
They are building smaller. Griffin Canning was signed for $4 million. And I think I heard on the post game that he was talking with both the Mets and the Yankees at the time. But even the Braves are disappointed they let him go for what they did. Mets counting mostly on this pitching lab to get them through at least until the kids from the minor leagues are ready to go here.
Mm-hmm.
What ways do you feel that the Yankees can improve when it comes to the starting rotation here, and how well, as well, you got to talk about how well Max Fried and what has made him so dominant?
Yeah, Max Fried, I've never seen a free agent that the Yankees signed that lived up to the expectations, if not more. And that is what Max Fried has done. Max Fried right now, he's getting my vote for the Cy Young in the American League. But besides Max Fried, you brought up Carlos Rodon. And with Carlos Rodon, it has been rocky, like hit or miss, like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. But over his past 5 starts, I got the stats right here. Carlos Rodon is 4-0 with a 1.72 ERA. That's 36 2/3 innings that he has pitched over his past 5 starts, and he has been money. The last start against the Mets, he battled. I was there Friday for that game. He was battling through those 5 innings, but he still was able to get out of it, was able to get the win. And like you said, Griffin Canning. Every time I've been at covering the games at Citi Field, I'm at Griffin Canning starts. I've probably been at every one of his starts. The other 2 starts, it was Kodai Senga, and it was I forgot the other guy, but it was mostly Griffin Canning, and he has been money. He is your version of what Paul Goldsmith is to us, somebody that you sign in the offseason for a very low risk, high reward, and that's what's happening right now. But when it comes to the starting rotation for both teams, I think injuries, it happens. Every team deals with injuries. Every team has injuries. You got Frankie Montas, you got Sean Manaea, who I both spoke to on Mother's Day, and they look like they're on their way back. But every team deals with injuries. It's just going to come down to both David Stern and Brian Cashman at the trade deadline, deciding what's best for this team. Do we sacrifice some of our youth and our prospect? Go out there, get a Sandy Alcantara? You never know. And talking about Sandy, I had some Met fans chirping at Steve Cohen about, hey, you need a trade for Sandy. And he was like, I don't know who that guy is. And he chuckled at them and walked away.
Yeah, that both teams are probably, even with how well the rotations, they could both use another starter in their rotation. So look, and with the Mets here, they're going to have some decisions to make when it comes to their rotation. There's going to be a shuffle. So we'll talk about the Juan Soto shuffle later. There's going to be the Mets starting pitching shuffle that's coming soon. We saw Tyler McGill. You were at the game on Friday night. Tyler McGill could not get through 3 innings in that game. His last, I want to say, 4 games have not been good. He's allowed 4 earned runs in his first 30 innings of the season. Now he's given up 14 in the last 14. And I think I had a graphic here on my end that I'm going to pull up, that I took a screenshot from one of the Athletic articles that shows his first 6 games to the rest of the season. And in his first 6 starts in any season, a 2.78 ERA. Afterwards, a 5.62 ERA. Huge jump. It's like April flowers bring May showers.
Yeah.
For Tyler McGill And I feel like he is probably going to be the odd man out when it comes to this rotation once Frankie Montas returns and Sean Manaea. So this has been a struggle for Tyler McGill.
Yeah, and when you look at the Mets starting rotation, on the Mets pitching in general, when you take a deep dive into it, the Mets starting rotation, they lead all of Major League Baseball with a 2.89 ERA, and they're tied for fifth when it comes to 406 strikeouts. So the starting rotation for the New York Mets, that has been your strong suit. And when it comes to the trade deadline, as we're talking, Tyler McGill may be the odd man out, like you said. Whether they solve that internally by bringing up Brandon Sprout, or however you say his name, or going out there and looking at the trade market and going out there and acquiring an arm.
Yeah, there's a couple of kids in the minors right now. Brandon Sprout's one of them. We saw Blade Tidwell make a spot start for the Mets. Mm-hmm. I don't know how close a Nolan McLean is. I know he didn't fare too well in his last start, but his first start was pretty dominant. Got a lot of kids getting ready to come up here, so that's going to be a big deal. And it's been a big deal for both teams. I think that's what's been fun. Mm-hmm. You know, storylines aside, and we'll go back to Juan Soto because I want to get your thoughts on that. We started off the show with Juan Soto, but I wanted to get your thoughts and feelings on the whole situation because you were there. You've been there the first two games of the series, so I wanted to know what your thoughts. But when you look at the Subway Series, you look at the Mets and Yankees and what they've been able to do, you know, it's always about, you know, who's the big free agent they're going to bring in, or, you know, what's, you know, how well each team is doing determines where this Subway Series goes, right? Like if the Mets are terrible, the Subway Series has not the same meaning. Like when we were growing up, 99, 2000, those teams, you know, they were both vying for playoff spots. 2006, the same thing, 2015. And now you're talking about the last two seasons as well. But I want to talk about the Queens and the Bronx kids because both teams have been bringing up a lot of their kids from the farm system. You talk with the Mets, Francisco Alvarez, Mark Vientos, Brett Beatty, Luis Angel Acuna as well. And he played a big role in game two with his speed. Brett Beatty with the defense. You know, you look at the Yankees on the other side, you got the Martian Jason Dominguez. Ben Rice has played well. You got Anthony Volpe as well as for the time being, it was Oswaldo Cabrera before he got hurt.
Yeah.
But both teams have been raising the bar when it comes to allowing their kids. Because remember, you know, when we were watching baseball as a kid, it was these kids were getting traded away for big time stars here. But now we're getting to see them build from within. And we know how New York loves their homegrown players.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, from your side of perspective, what has these kids meant to the growth of this Yankees team?
Yeah, you know, I know some fans, they're indifferent when it comes to prospects, right? Shout out to my guy, Jimmy Randazzo, who has a phrase that he loves to say, hug your girlfriend, not your prospects. He don't care about prospects. He loves trading them. But when you look at both teams, right, the Yankees side of things, just on Fridays and yesterday's game, you got Ben Rice, Aaron Judge, Jason Dominguez, Anthony Volpe, Austin Wells, Oswald Peraza, and Jorbit Vivas. Those are 7 guys that are in the Yankees lineup that came through the Yankees farm system, right? Everybody likes to poo-poo at Brian Cashman, but Aaron Judge, who's probably the best offensive hitter in all of Major League Baseball, there was a trade back in the day, I want to say like in 2013, 2014, that was on the table for the New York Yankees to send Aaron Judge, Gary Sanchez, and Luis Severino to the Atlanta Braves for a bag of garbage, Haywood and a bunch of other no-name guys that I'm skipping off the top of my head. If the Yankees would have made that trade, Yankee fans would have been losing it with Aaron Judge in Atlanta right now. So I understand the frustration when it comes to some prospects that come up, don't pan out, Miguel Andujar, Clint Frazier. I get that. I understand that. But sometimes you have to solve the problem from within. And in 2020, the Yankees farm system, they made a conservative effort to develop position players, use starting pitchers for trade, and import starting pitchers using the Yankees' best tool. And that's their money. And when you look at it, right, I named the position players. And ever since 2020, we imported Garrett Cole, we imported Max Fried, we imported Carlos Rodon, and we're adding guys from our farm system like Clark Smith, Luis Hill when he comes back as well. So both teams are solving it internally. I don't know as much when it comes to like the Mets farm system, But David Stern is the smartest general manager in all of Major League Baseball. When you guys got him, that's who I wanted to take over for Brian Cashman. And David Stern, the way that he has flipped your farm system and has made it one of the best farm system in baseball, that's something that needs to be studied and needs to be applauded because he has done an amazing job. You brought up Acuna. Acuna is now playing in the game. Acuna was the difference maker. That was the first prospect he brought in when he traded, I think, Max Scherzer over to the Texas Rangers. So David Stern and Brian Cashman has done an amazing job when it comes to the farm system. More David Stern than Cashman.
Yeah, and it's funny that a lot of the talk will be about it if they should send Luis Angel Acuna down. I got to keep him up here just for the speed alone. Just for the speed alone. You see all the other players on this team are not as fast. I mean, outside of Francisco Lindor, who could steal some bases, Juan Soto has stolen some bases of his own, but Pete's not fast. Mark Vientos is probably the slowest person on the team. We saw Brett Beatty get thrown out at home as well. He's not fast. Luis Angel Acuna just provides that spark of speed that the Mets have been missing. You saw a little bit of Brett Beatty playing very good third base. He's playing for his life right now, and you're seeing it at third base, doing very well. Mark Vientos has also turned it around offensively after getting off to an awful start himself. He's batting a little over 300 over the last month or so. Francisco Alvarez has been pretty decent backstop. He hasn't been the number one overall prospect as was pertained yet by MLB Pipeline. Yeah. But he has been pretty good behind the plate along with Luis Torrens. And that's another guy that came from the Yankees system that the Yankees let go of. And he's had a huge impact on this Mets team. So there's a lot of players here that are just lighting up to the occasion. And it's great to see the kids come because it's always been about free agency. It's always been about who's going to sign for what amount, what top star are we going to bring in. And to see these two teams build from within, which pretty much wasn't allowed for such a long time, to see them build from within is great. And the trajectory for the Yankees might be different if that trade with the Atlanta Braves went down there. So we might be talking about a dynasty with Ronald Acuna Jr. and Aaron Judge in the outfield.
Yeah, I want to shout out Hector in Washington Heights. El Tecayo's in the building. Hector, hope all is well, my guy. On Mark Vientos, I got an interesting stat for you, right? On June 25th, this was last year, 2024, at Citi Field, Mark Vientos became the 12th player in franchise history to record a multi-home run game in the Subway Series, joining Pete Alonso, Francisco Lindor, Jose Reyes, Jason Bay, Carlos Delgado, David Wright, Carlos Beltran, Clip Froy, and Ty Wigginton as the only Mets to hit multi-home run games in the Subway Series. So I had this on my post-game notes, and I was like, I got to throw that out there for my guy, Ant.
Yeah, if Mark Vientos can tap more into the power this season, he's been getting the hits. He's struggled a little bit at third base. I eventually see him probably being the DH because we got a DH right now that's batting under 200 and really has not been a major factor in Starling Marte. At some point, they got to figure out what they're going to do with Starling Marte. I want to go deeper down into the farm with you when it comes to these two teams. Now, for the Mets, you talk about David Stearns and what he's done, and the Mets are starting to build from within when it comes to pitching. We know that they're not going to sign any starter to any big deal that's over the age of 30. They did throw out some money to Yamamoto, but he was 25. Yeah. He was young, and they were willing to offer that.
He's one of the biggest steals that's out there in Major League Baseball with what he's getting paid and the production he's doing.
Yeah, absolutely. And, when I think about the direction of what David Stearns is trying to do here, and I think that you mentioned that it should be studied, right? So I for me, I would build from within when it comes to pitching, sign free agents that are position players. I think that that's the best route to go. We got a couple of pitchers, Jonah Tong, Nolan McLean. We mentioned Brandon Stroh, Blade Tidwell. We even got a kid finally getting himself back up, watching him come back from 2 Tommy John surgeries. Matt Allen, he was a big-time prospect who kind of got lost in the shuffle, one, because of COVID, shortened season, and then the Tommy John surgeries, but he's been coming back. I think he just went up to Double A Binghamton. That's nice to see. When you talk about the Yankees, and there's been this talk about George Lombard Jr., I got to get your thoughts on him because I don't know much about him.
Yeah.
Is he the real future at shortstop more than Anthony Volpe? Because we all bring up Anthony Volpe. We need Anthony Volpe. And now when he starts to struggle, now the talk's starting to go to George Lombard Jr. So what's the difference between these two players?
Yeah.
And is George Lombard the real future at shortstop for the Yankees?
George Lombard Jr. is the real deal. The Yankees signed this young man not signed. They drafted him out of high school, right? And he committed to go to Vanderbilt, and all the scouts and all the experts and everybody with the blue check marks, they've been saying if George Lombard Jr. went to college for 1 year, he would have been a top 3 pick in the draft. Not just a first round pick, would have been a top 3 pick in the draft. He grew up a Yankee fan. Specifically, he grew up with Aaron Judge being his favorite player. So the Yankees, they took a gamble, not knowing if he was going to sign with them. They used their first round pick to get him, and he signed with them. And George Lombard Jr. is the real deal. He is a 19-year-old kid who at high A ball showed his plate discipline with a 500 on base percentage. Now, that's crazy to say for a 19-year-old. Right. But when you look at George Lombard Jr. and you bring up the shortstop situation, defensively, he is the best glove in the Yankees system at the minor league level, at the major league level right now. He could play at the major league level off of his defense alone. It would be kind of like, remember when Yadier Molina was with the St. Louis Cardinals when he first came up and they had the pitcher hitting ahead of him in the lineup because he was so bad offensively? That's what George Lombard Jr. If the Yankees desperately needed that defense, they could bring him up and they could plug him in and he would just fit just like he's been there every day. George Lombard Jr. also, his father is one of the coaches with the Tigers or the Dodgers. If I'm mistaken, somebody please correct me in the chat. And he's grown up in Major League Clubhouse. This young man is prepared not only to play in the major leagues, but to play with the New York Yankees. Defensively, he's a stud. And Anthony Volpe, there's always been questions about his arm strength. I was always the one that said Anthony Volpe should be a second baseman, not a shortstop. When you look at his throw, he can pick the glove. Anything hit at him, he's going to get. It's just the arm strength that gets in Anthony Volpe's way when he bounces the ball in the dirt to the first baseman. So if I was the Yankees, in spring training, they had him playing third base exclusively. But this year, they have him in the minor leagues playing second base, and that's to keep him comfortable with the up the middle, right? That way, if they have to move him over to shortstop, it's an easy transition to shortstop. Then it would be from third base to shortstop. So I can see George Lombard Jr. cracking a major league roster. Definitely not this year, but if he makes some noise in spring training, he definitely could be a September call-up for next year.
He's in Double A Somerset at this moment in time, correct?
He's in Double A Somerset this moment. He started the year at with Tampa. He started the year at Hudson Valley, and they moved him straight up to Double A.
It's so weird because I always remember the talk about Volpe coming up, and there was that whole story about him and becoming the next Derek Jeter, being the fan of Derek Jeter, and now we're moving on to George Lombard Jr. It's a weird situation.
I just got to say, I hate when people do that, when they put those type of labels on prospects, right? He's going to be the next Mickey Mantle. He's going to be the next Mike Trout, this, that, and third. When you look at the Yankees farm system, when you look at like Aaron Judge, for instance, right? When Aaron Judge was coming up, the hype was around Gary Sanchez, Luis Severino, Jorge Mato, who's with the Orioles right now. Judge had no hype around him. And you see how Judge turned into. Ben Rice, Anthony Volpe had the hype. Jason Dominguez had the hype. Ben Rice is hitting home runs left and right. I'm not saying Ben Rice is going to be Aaron Judge, but when you don't put that label on a prospect and you allow them just to develop, you see what happens. And George Lombard Jr., when the Yankees drafted him, there was no hype train around George Lombard Jr. There has been no hype train around George Lombard Jr. And keep it like that. I hate when they put these labels on these players.
They did the same thing with Francisco Alvarez, and this is going to be the next Mike Piazza. We're talking about a Hall of Fame player that hit close to 400 or a little over 400 home runs. And all of a sudden now, this kid who was the top prospect in all of baseball is now going to be that player. Hasn't really hit with power over the last couple of years. I know it's due to an injury, but you got to slow down when it comes to comparing these prospects to legends of the game. It's just too much.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. And when it comes to Francisco Alvarez, the young man, regardless of his struggles, he always has a smile on his face. He always has a smile on his face. He's always interacting with the fans. I saw it yesterday for the first 2 days at Yankee Stadium for the Subway Series. But yeah, like you said, just let them develop and let them turn. Like Brett Beatty also, right? I remember a lot of people saying Brett Beatty, he could be the next this generation's version of David Wright. Why are you doing this to these young players? You're hurting them more than you're helping them. Perfect example. Look at the Angels, right? I forgot the prospect that they had, the outfielder they had when he came.
Joe Adell.
Joe Adell. There you go. Thank you so much, Ann, for helping me out. Joe Adell. The dyslexia this morning is kidding me. Joe Adell, when he first came up, everybody was labeling him the next Mike Trout. The next Mike Trout. Oh, the Angels, they're so lucky. They got Mike Trout, Ohtani, and they got Joe Adell. Joe Adell, the spotlight of living up to that hype got to him. And in the minor leagues, he's killed it. But for some reason, he just cannot produce at the same level at the major league and in the majors. And I think it's because of that extra pressure. Yogi Berra has a phrase. Baseball is 30% physical, 80% mental. How he get that math, I don't know. And I have a feeling that baseball is true, that it comes down to the mental aspect of the game, just like the physical part of it.
Yeah, more often than not. It is a huge, mental game. And it rises to another occasion and to another level when you're playing in New York. Mm-hmm. I mean, the fans are relentless. The media is relentless. It's a whole another atmosphere when you're playing in the bright lights of the big city. And look, I hope that these kids succeed. It's nice to see homegrown talent come up, especially in New York when you don't get it as much. And we're seeing a lot of these players come up. I think you got to ease these kids in. Like when these kids come up, they're expected to be the saviors of these teams. Mm-hmm. Let them grow. Let them grow into that role. That it's going to take a while, but to have them come up and like this guy is going to be the reason why we get to the postseason this year. Got to stop that as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I got the trade right here. This was the trade. This happened back in 2015, right? This is when the Yankees was in that weird period before they got Didi Gregorius. So the trade was the Yankees would have sent Aaron Judge, Luis Severino, Gary Sanchez, Manny Benuelos, and Ian Clarkin to the Braves to get Jason Hayward, Andrelton Simmons, B.J. Upton, Chris Johnson, and David Carpenter. That was the trade that the Yankees almost sent this generation's version of the best player in Major League Baseball over to the Braves. Yankee fans would have been upset.
I don't think any of those guys are in the league. Is Jason Hayward still though, right?
Jason Hayward is the only one that's in the league. And Andrelton Simmons, I think the last time he played in the majors or the last time he played with the Braves was 2015, 2016.
It's crazy. And when they were going to trade for Jason Hayward, he was a bigger deal back then. Then now he's really just a complimentary player. So that would have been a crazy trade to change this whole trajectory of the Yankees here. You talk about Aaron Judge, and I'm here with Hector Beauchamp, co-host of Yankees Morning Brew on Uptown Sports TV. He's the social media manager and digital content creator for Latino Sports. You'll catch him at Mets games. You'll catch him at Yankee games. He's at them all. He's covering it all.
Yeah, I keep don't let any Yankee fan know, right? But I like Citi Field, right? Because in the press box they have the Mr. Softy ice cream, and at Yankee Stadium it's just the regular nasty ice cream in the press box. That's why I like Citi Field to a certain degree more than Yankee Stadium. Some Yankee fans get upset when I say that.
Don't be upset about it, and Yankee fans shouldn't be upset about it. There was a post I think on Friday night about which stadium is better, and I said even Yankee fans believe Citi Field is better, and it's gotten over 1,000 views and likes. Yeah. So I've heard from a lot of Yankee fans that it's not old Yankee Stadium. It's not the same.
Yeah, it's not old Yankee Stadium, and the outside navigating, because the sidewalks are so tiny. At least we go to Citi Field. Citi Field is like walking to Six Flags because of all the space that's there when you first walk in, and you're not all on top of each other. I'm not good with people being all on top of me, and I'm gonna tell you right now, sometimes I hate people. You're one of the people that I actually like, so I don't like when people are all on top of me, right? So navigating Yankee Stadium, it gets a little difficult. Citi Field is a lot easier to navigate, but when you look at the fan experience, Citi Field, they just have so much more to offer than Yankee Stadium. And I understand Yankee Stadium, when you're going in there, it's more of a museum to celebrate the history of the Yankees. I don't know. Maybe the sidewalks just add a couple extra more inches to make it easier for people to walk. But yeah, I get what you're saying.
Well, you got stands right out there. You got is it stands and Billy's is out there.
You got Billy's, you got Twins. Like, so they have some good stuff. Like, that's what separates the Yankees from the Mets. If the Mets had that, and if it was easier to commute all the way to Citi Field from like the Bronx, and you don't have to go all the way to the 7 train, then we're having a different conversation. What I'm interested to see is with Juan Soto now being with the Mets, right, over there in Queens, the transportation for Dominicans from where I live in Washington Heights from Citi Field, are they going to make that trek over these next 15 years? And how much more will it grow over the years?
Well, I know that they're building the NYCFC arena right next to Citi Field, and there's, I guess some hopes that Steve Cohen is able to get to buy out that whole area and start building around it, whether it is like a casino or just making the area a lot different. I mean, a lot of stadiums and a lot of a lot of cities that have these stadiums, I think about Washington as one of them. Philadelphia they all have activities to do after or before the game begins, so that you're not just like leaving right after and taking the trek back home. And I know the Mets have tried to do that. Some things in the parking lot they try to do and set up stuff on like Saturdays or weekends. So they're working on these things, and the hope is that the chop shops, no offense to all those people that work at the chop shops, I wish them all the best, but like the whole hope is that they're able to rebuild around there and make it more of not just, hey, I'm just coming to the game, but make it more of a destination. My hope is, and as much as Citi Field and even Yankee Stadium and, the beautification of New York City, right? I understand it. You want to make it more attractive. You want to make it more easier, more accessible for people. My only fear, and this is something that I hold deep down, is that hopefully the changes that happen around Citi Field, they don't alienate the community that's already there. Yep. Hopefully there's still not a lifeline, but a bridge, so that community that's already there, that's been there for years, can still enjoy the Mets. Because that's the one thing that's going to be heartbreaking if that casino comes and the high rises and the hotels and all that come, and then the people that have been living in that community for years, they get pushed out and they can't enjoy all of that. That's the one fear that I have. And the same thing for Yankee Stadium, because the South Bronx is going through it right now. Like this whole beautification thing, they call Hunts Point now the piano district in the South Bronx. That's crazy, right? So that's the only fear that I have. Yeah, it's something that you got to watch out for. Mm-hmm. Hopefully it doesn't come a more corporate area and you still have that deep-hearted fan base that's still out there. Carlos in the chat saying that he agrees with you. I can like you as a person, but it doesn't mean I want to dance with you. Give me some space. Facts that I Isla, Carlos, absolutely. We started off with Juan Soto, so we're going to end here with Juan Soto as well. I want your reactions from, what you saw in the stands. To me, I feel like I know he's going to get booed for as long as he's a Met. I know that's going to be like that forever. But I feel like the whole part is like done now. They turned their back on him. They booed him. They did all that. He tipped the cap. He smiled. I feel like we can move on from this story now. Yes, I agree with you. And first of all, shout out to Juan Soto for handling this the way he has. He understands the moment. He's a bit younger than I am, right? So he understands the troll job on the internet. He gets that. He gets the whole social media craze. So to see him take his hat off, I thought was awesome. Waving at the fans in right field, catching the out, not even looking at the fans. Like once he realized, I guess somebody told him the fans turned their back on you. So I'm not sure if you caught this. He caught a ball. And instead of turning back to throw it to the fans, he just walked and went like that. So he turned his back on them as well from that perspective. Heel move. For wrestling fans. Yeah, definitely a WWE heel move. But also what was interesting is that in Friday's game, the Bleacher Creatures in section 203, shout out to my guy Mark, shout out to Keith McPherson as well. Shout out to all the OG Bleacher Creatures that's there. There's two types of fans that go into Yankee Stadium. It's the Bleacher Creatures, three. The Bleacher Creatures, diehard Yankee fans, and the Yankee fans that come from like Long Island that get drunk on the train and they're shit faced by the time they get there. The Bleacher Creatures, I can tell you this, and they were so upset
at the Yankee fans that were booing Juan Soto. The Bleacher Creatures weren't able to do a roll call on Friday because of that, and they were so upset. I was with them, and they were so upset. The Bleacher Creatures normally are the ones that are controlling the crowd, like don't do this, don't do the wave, and all that extra stuff that happened at Yankee Stadium is the stuff that the Bleacher Creatures don't want.
You could tell. I even heard once he came to bat, they were trying to go through the whole whole roll call, and it wasn't happening. I didn't know I didn't know it was that deep.
Yeah,
for Yankee fans, that it goes that deep.
Yeah. The people that do the roll call, Section 203, the Bleacher Creatures, even the guys with the Terror Squad that's there, the Terror Squad, the Toyota Terrace, they're the ones that I say are the actual Yankee fans, diehard Yankee fans. There's a lot of Yankee fans that they get a ticket and they're just there. They don't know how to act. Like I said, doing the wave at Yankee Stadium, that's a Citi Field thing. That's a Met thing. Do not do the wave at Yankee Stadium. And also, just like in Citi Field, they don't do the roll call. Don't do the roll call in Citi Field. There's just two things that should be sacred. One, the Mets have, and two, the Yankees have. But I think Juan Soto, like you said, he's going to get booed every time he goes up there wearing a Mets uniform. But I'm going to keep on saying this, and I said this with Dexter. I've been saying this every time I've been on talking about this. I brought it up with you as well when we was on with on New York One with Rocco, that Juan Soto signing that contract, it sets a different precedent and standard for Latino baseball players. I don't think Vladimir Guerrero Jr. gets that $500 million extension if Juan Soto doesn't get that massive contract. And so I understand Yankee fans being upset. If I'm Juan Soto, as much as I grew up a Yankee fan, a diehard Yankee fan, I'm not turning down an extra $100 million. I'm sorry. I'm too broke to even imagine turning down an extra $100 million. So I understand it. He got his money. And hopefully over these next 15 years, you guys get a couple championships.
It's a rarity of any player that really would turn down that much amount of money, to join another team. And let's be fair here. If this was somewhere else, if this is not the Mets, if we're not talking about Boston, I feel like this is a non-issue, and Yankee fans are fine.
Yeah.
It has really gotten overblown from, I feel like, a Yankee fan perspective. Like I have never seen this much. I don't know what to. I don't want to say the word coping, but I think the word is coping.
Yeah, it's copomania, right? It's definitely coping. What it is, it's something that they're creating. It's more of an issue because they're creating it and making it an issue. I have no issue whatsoever with Juan Soto being with the Mets, right? Just like you said, he was with us for 1 year. It's not like Jorge Posada in the mid 2000s after winning a batting title signing with the New York Mets. This is two different scenarios. We understood Juan Soto was a merchant. You wanted him to stay here. But the thing that I think fans are leaving out is the culture that they're building over there in Queens. Over this weekend, I'll tag you in the interviews that I've done, but I've done an interview with Edwin Diaz, Carlos Beltran, Omar Minaya about the culture that they're creating over there in Queens. And I know a lot. I know Steve Cohen, he gets a lot of credit because he brought the team. David Stern as well gets a lot of credit. But somebody who people sleep on and don't mention is Alex Cohen. DT Alex Cohen, she has done amazing work over there when it comes to the culture, when it comes to the vibe, making it a family environment. And you could tell, seeing the players, when they see her run up to her, bendición, especially the Latino baseball players, bendición, and all this, that goes a long way to make people feel comfortable. I know some baseball fans is like, oh, that's not a big deal. That's not big. That's definitely a big deal. You got to understand, these baseball players like Juan Soto, Starling Marte, Francisco Lindor, when they came over to the States, they were 16 years old. They left their family. They left everything behind at 16 years old. Juan Soto is 30. More than half of his life, he has been playing in America, trying to be a baseball star. That's something that some people just forget and don't even bring into the conversation. So having an environment that is family friendly, that is emphasizing on the culture, going into Citi Field, seeing all the Puerto Rican flags on the Mets hat, all the Dominican flags on the Met hat, that goes a long way when you're trying to pitch it to a free agent, trying to attract them.
Yeah. Culture is a big part of baseball now, right? Like, look at Alex Cohen can relate to the Hispanic players in a different way than, a Brian Cashman or or a Steinbrenner can relate. where like the money, as much as it's a lot of it, and there's so much other things involved. Yes, he's going to be Soto's getting this, close to $800 million. But there are a lot of other things, the way that they were going to, treat the family, and they got a family room here, and they got all this amenities for these players and their families. Everything that I've heard, Jesse Winker, him resigning, the way that they took care of his family and his kids, Ryan Stanek. It's not, it's not just the Hispanic players. Everyone is talking about the way that this team is being, treated, and these players are being treated, that they, it's what I wanted. I wanted players to come here because they wanted to be here. I didn't want to have to always overpay, although we are overpaying for Juan Soto a little bit here. But at some point, you don't want them to keep overpaying for all these players. Yeah.
No, you're right. Sometimes you've seen teams in the past that spent money and they don't produce championships, right? The Dodgers, even though they spent so much money, they only got 2 championships over the past 5 years, and one and a half. I was just about to say, one of them is during the pandemic, where people do not believe that that's even an actual championship. So you could spend all the money in the world. We've seen it with the Padres. You remember years, I think it's 5 or 10 years ago, when the Padres, they traded for Will Myers, they traded for James Shield, all these, and they didn't even sniff the postseason. When the Florida Marlins signed Mark Burley and Jose Reyes and spent a bunch of money, they didn't even go to the postseason. They had to trade people away. You have to have a foundation where you could import players, whether it's via trade, whether it's via free agency, and add them to the foundation that you already have. Perfect example, and look at the Knicks. And we, as Knicks fans, we always waited, hey, we got to clear the cap space and bring in 2 superstars. We got to clear the cap space and bring in all the superstars. No, build the foundation and then bring in the guys to help you get to that level. The Knicks built the foundation, and then they brought in Karl Anthony Towns, and now you see where we're at right now. And that's what you have to do, not just in baseball or basketball, in all of professional sports, in the NFL as well.
It was talked about in the radio the other day, and now that you mentioned the Knicks, that when they were clearing the cap space to go after Jalen Brunson and the fan base's thoughts at that time on that whole situation, and now Jalen Brunson can walk around the streets of New York and probably never have to pay for anything. He will be, if he leads this team just to the NBA, forget about winning the NBA finals. We all know that's hard, but to lead them to the NBA finals for the first time in 25 years. I mean, he's got the keys to the city for life.
Yeah. Talk about an athlete leaving $100 million on the table. That was Jalen Brunson leaving $100 million so the Knicks could trade for Mikal Bridges, so they could trade for Karl Anthony Towns and not be in that second apron. So yeah, hats off to Jalen Brunson. Like you said, he is Mr. New York. I know Aaron Judge is having an amazing season, hitting 400, but Jalen Brunson, if knock on wood, 8 more wins, Jalen Brunson, like you said, he would never have to pay rent or for a meal in this city ever again.
Hector, Carlos in the chat saying, you're preaching facts about the Mets culture. Remember how Tia Alex included her dad to the Soto negotiations? It's a family atmosphere that Latino players will cherish. Jeff Cohen saying, Alex Cohen is the best. I just wish I was related. Another thing that I want to mention too, and it's a little 50-50 with fans, but I think that too, like the WBC and the culture that brings to baseball is huge. People get upset when these players want to play for their countries, but now we're even seeing it with Team USA. You got Paul Skeens signing up. You have the 2026 captain, the captain of America in Aaron Judge. Now taking the mantle. Like, now players are starting to want to get involved. And once you see that, that building of the culture of baseball, I think that's huge as well for stuff like this.
Yeah, listen, I am a very loud and proud Boricua. I am happy and I am proud to be where my family's from, the Borican in Puerto Rico, right? I don't care if it's a foosball tournament. If it's Puerto Rico versus the U.S., I'm going to root, right? I don't care what it is. If somebody has a Puerto Rican flag on, I'm showing up no matter what the sport is. And you brought it up perfectly when it comes to the World Baseball Classic. And speaking to players. This is my angle when I'm at the stadium talking to players and the difference. And you see it, right? Orlando Hudson, I had an interview with him at Citi Field a couple of weeks ago, and he said that it's different now than what it was when he was in the league in 2006. He missed it in 2006 because of injuries, but you've seen it specifically with the Japanese team. And it's because of the Japanese team, how much they care about the World Baseball Classic, that now American players, Puerto Rican players, and Latino players are taking it more serious. The Latino players, they did take it serious. A lot of them said, like, this is like winning a championship to me, like when the World Baseball Classic representing my country. But the Japanese players, baseball has become a part of the Japanese culture over there in Japan. And you see it. It starts at a very young age, and you see the players that are coming over, the talent that is coming over. It's a lot different now with the Japanese stars than it was 20 years ago. 20 years ago, it was just Ichiro and it was Hideki Matsui. Now it's multiple guys that are coming over and making a name for themselves. And the World Baseball Classic is the stage that they're doing it on. And I'm just happy that now the World Baseball Classic, 20 years later, it's getting the recognition that it deserves. I'm going to be there next year. The first round for Puerto Rico is going to be in Puerto Rico, in San Juan. So I will be at the World Baseball Classic covering it for Latino sports.
And we're going to have to get you on the show. We're going to have to, because I want to do coverage of WBC in the off season. And I've loved WBC since the beginning. It was something that I definitely hold near and dear, because it was a time, my grandfather was a Yankee fan. Me being, let's just like you, your mom is a Met fan. You're a Yankee fan, right? Mm-hmm. He's a diehard Yankee fan. I'm being a Mets fan myself, and we'd always have fun watching the games together. But then you go to the WBC and you got that connection, right? Like Puerto Rico, that's the connection. You watch the games together, you cheer for it together. And I think it was I don't know if it was the year that he passed, the following year when they went to play the WBC, they went to the finals. And I was like, man, this is such a tribute to him. Mm-hmm. To see them, go this far and be a part. So I've always loved the WBC, and I love now that more players are taking part of it, and more stars are taking part of it. Paul Skeens, I didn't even realize that this means more to Paul Skeens, who grew up in USA baseball, and I think that like a military family, and all that stuff. So playing for Team USA means a whole lot to him.
Yeah.
And if it means a lot to him, it should mean a lot to the fans. I hope more fans get into it. Just like you mentioned, Japan, not only is it ingrained with their players and their culture, but you watch the fans and how much fun they're having in the stands. You want to see that when it comes to this. I wish they would pick a better timing. I would do it a little bit differently if I could. Kind of take the stance that hockey took. I don't know if you by any chance saw this Four Nations. They completely got rid of the All-Star week, and they put the Four Nations in there, and for 2 weeks they did that. I wish baseball would do something like that as well, so that it kind of, the players are already in form already. I mean, we're going to deal with injuries no matter what, but I wish that they figured out a better timing of play, because you got players ramping up in March. It doesn't fit. You could do it at the end of the season, but then you got the World Series there. So if they figure out a way to get rid of the All-Star break for maybe just that 1 week, I think that this would do a whole lot more money than All-Star week does, honestly.
Yeah, I got to agree with you 100%. If they were to include it, replace All-Star weekend and have it, or just have it on top of All-Star weekend, make it like a full month or make it like 3 weeks. That way you give guys in the middle of the season, let them rest. Like the people who aren't in the World Baseball Classic, people who aren't pitching in the All-Star game, let them rest, let them heal from their injuries, because injuries are up nowadays, and that's because of the overusage that you see from pitchers and position players. So having a break in the middle of the season, I don't think would hurt. But going back to the World Baseball Classic, to your point, the pride that you're seeing from players now, and Carlos put it in the chat, the Puerto Ricans and the Dominicans, when it comes to the World Baseball Classic, it's like the Series de Caribe on steroids, 100%. And just to let you know, this is why I got I haven't seen my mom's. I went to see her on Mother's Day. I just forgot her gifts, but this is what I got her. My mom was a big Gary Carter fan. That was her favorite Met back in the day. Hold on. Got her the Puerto Rico, Mets hat right here. And then I got her the Clay Holmes giveaway jersey. So I'm a good son. I got some gifts for my mom. I just haven't seen it to give it to her.
Hector, as we wrap up the show, let everyone know what you got working on, especially with Latino sports,
Yes.
and what you're just, spread your social media, all of it out there.
Yes, for those of you guys that watching that don't know what Latino Sports is a media outlet that I work for. We present the Latino MVP award in Major League Baseball in both the American League, National League, for position players, for starters, for relievers, for rookies, for managers, and we've been presenting this award since 1990. Major League Baseball started sponsoring the award over the past, I think, 10 years or 5 to 10 years, and the first person to get the award was Ruben Sierra. He lost the MVP to Robin Yao. All the Latino journalists, they got together, was like, this is not fair. Julio Pavon, who is the president and founder of Latino Sports, started it. And everything that you see now in Major League Baseball, and when it comes to Hispanic Heritage Month, Latino Pride Night, all of this stems from Julio Pavon and the other journalists that have been doing this work since the 90s, making it so Latino baseball players can have proper representation and proper speech, not proper speech, but proper, how can I say this? Translation, right? Because one thing I hate is when a Latino baseball player is giving an interview, it gets lost in translation. Because you and I, we know Spanish. We understand what they're saying. But when the translator is translating it, some things, it gets lost. And that's something that Latino sports have been combating. You can find this on all social media platforms, on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Latino Sports. We cover more than baseball. We cover the NBA, the NFL, WNBA, and it has been an amazing time. It hasn't even been a year that I've been with Latino Sports, and it has been a ride. And I know you see it on social media, but being able to be on the field, interviewing players, getting to be on that side of the media has been a game changer for me. But the one thing that I could say that I have more pride in is that the fact that every time I'm there, I'm always wearing my Puerto Rico hat. I'm always wearing my earring from Jayuya. The amount of Boricuas that have come up to me and say, I am so happy you're wearing that hat. Thank you for wearing that. Alex Cohen, when I was at Citi Field last time on Mother's Day, I was walking by and she was like, I like your hat. And that was a perfect way for us to have a nice little conversation. Alex Cohen, like I said, she's amazing. Shout out to Titi Cohen. And hopefully the Yankees could take the last game of the 3-game set tonight.
We will definitely see. There's bragging rights on the line here, and for me, this is apparently this is my World Series. So as I've been told many times in the past, but Hector, it's always a pleasure having you on. I appreciate you, Hector Beauchamp, co-host of Yankees Morning Brew on Uptown Sports TV and social media manager and digital content creator for Latino Sports. You can follow him on X at Project Nerd HQ, at Uptown Sports TV, at Yanks Brew, and at Latino Sports. This has been Subway to Shea. You can follow me on X, Instagram, and TikTok at Subway to Shea. You can follow me personally at Rivera86. Make sure you subscribe and like on YouTube. That's where most of the chat is supposed to be. I don't know what happened today. I apologize for it not working. We will see what happened. I appreciate you going to X and putting all your comments and questions in there. So I'm going to have to see once I get off the air what happened to the chat. I don't know if it's a settings thing or what, but I will check that out. But please still subscribe. I will get it fixed, and we will be chatting more on YouTube as well. Like, share the video, and also you can listen on Apple Podcasts and Spotify as well. For Anthony, for Hector, this has been Subway to Shea. And I don't know if I could get him to say, but I will. Let's go Mets.
Oh, my God.